have been well trained.
No. You don't have to carry a sword to be powerful.
I won't fail you.
Or do not.
I'm not afraid.
There is no try.
Feel pain.
And we are back here at the Nova Open here in somewhere in the United States of America. I'm terrible at geography. Minion, where are we at? Is this Virginia? Washington?
We are in the nation's capital.
That's fair.
Ish.
I don't know what that is.
I think we might be just outside of it, actually.
Look, I play card games, not geography tests, so
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about this droid versus droid versus droid versus droid matchup here. So we've got General Grievous.
So technically there's one non-droid out there. General Grievous is not a droid.
Wait a minute. Why?
Because he does not have the droid subtype on his character.
That's not how that works. Go away. He's a droid.
All right, I'm out.
All right. We wanted to go to dinner anyways. All right, so we're actually going to see two completely separate decks that we haven't seen before. We have Chopper droids for the hero side on the left, and then we have General Grievous, who's not a droid apparently, even though he's practically a droid, but not a droid. And IG-88, the Bounty Hunter. So what are we going to see different here than what we've seen in the two previous matches?
So it's actually very similar. The IG-88 General Grievous is going to actually play, I think, quite similar to the Django Dengar decks that we've seen, just with different characters, and they'll be spreading out the bounties on the droids so that IG-88's power action, which is to resolve his dice against any number of opponents who have bounties on them, so he'll spread the bounties, try to do a bunch of splash damage. And then on the other side, you've got the Chopper droids, which is a much more control-y, disrupt-y type of droid game, and not so much built on the ramp. And as you see that, he droid stay out, got the disrupt, and killed IG-88's money.
So can you explain to those who are watching what just happened? Because we saw one card played, everything was activated, dice were flipped, and money was removed. And if you don't know what's going on, that can be pretty complex.
So Droid's Day Out lets you activate
Up to three.
Droids. If you get to draw a card if you activated 3.
But not Grievous. He's
Right.
not a droid.
But they activate all at the same time, which means then you get to do R2 and C-3PO's after activation abilities, which is oftentimes turn to a disrupt and then resolve the disrupt to kill your opponent's money.
Which puts the opponent into a huge disadvantage because now they have no capacity to play upgrades. They're going to have no ability, I can't say words, they have no ability to play any kind of mitigation that costs money, and sometimes they have to resolve their dice to make money, which means no damage, and the longer the droids last, the worse your life is going to be.
And we just had a General Grievous power action to reroll droid dice. IG-88 is a droid.
But General Grievous is not.
And then the Chopper droid's player flee the scene. So he removes 2 dice, but he has to pass his next 2 actions.
So let's really quickly talk about the power action on Chopper and the ability on IG-88, since those are 2 new characters that we haven't seen before this.
Right, so I already kind of mentioned IG-88's power action, which is to resolve bounty hunter dice showing range damage against any number of an opponent's characters who have bounties. There are no bounties out yet, so that power action is blank right now. And then Chopper's power action is that he can play an upgrade from a droid mod from his hand or discard for 1 less. Now, what's interesting here is that the IG-88 player did not end the round during the flee the scene finish. So flee the scene forces your opponent to pass. IG-88 could have claimed, and then his opponent has to pass and the round ends. He took some actions which let the Chopper Droids player actually resolve 3 of his dice that would have been stranded out there at the end of the round.
Right. And then he also put a riot shield on Chopper because that's going to give him a little bit of sustainability, because Chopper is realistically the crux of the deck. You have the capacity to use a power action to essentially reanimate cards out of your discard pile at a discount. You can do shenanigans where you play a card onto Chopper, you override it, then you reanimate it. So you're able to turn single cards into multi-tier plays that give you a lot, and I mean a lot, of control flexibility of your economy.
Right, but real talk, almost nothing ended up happening that first round.
No,
Nobody
we determined that General Grievous is not a droid. That is something.
But that's for us. That's not for the players.
Well, then nothing happened.
Yeah. So a little bit of damage got splashed around, and this is actually pretty common with chopper droids, is that nobody does anything round one, but Chopper gains some incremental advantages by using his power action and such.
All right, so we're at an interesting place where Chopper has some protection. He has a mod that allows him to, as an action, activate, resolve, and then the mod goes to the discard pile?
Right. And Chopper's ability lets him recycle that and use it every time.
Yeah.
He did not use that action this time, so he just rolls out, doesn't resolve anything immediately.
We know what the droids do because we've seen this 3 times in a row. What do non-droid General Grievous and droid IG-88 need to do to make this happen?
Ideally, he wants to get some more bounties out on the droid side so that he can start power actioning his 2 range to the entire team. But I don't see that happening, so he might just try to focus down Chopper instead, just to get a droid off the table.
So let's talk a little bit about General Grievous. What does he do in this situation?
So General Grievous is... his ability is that he reduces the cost of droids on his team by 1, which is convenient for IG-88, because that brings him from 17 to 16 elite, which leaves him room for a 2-point plot, and the plot they're playing is Perilous something or other. It's a common thing that FFG just keeps naming their cards something or other.
Yeah.
What it does is after you play a bounty each round, you can exhaust it to deal an indirect, and it might be just downgrades in general, not just bounties. I can't remember.
All right, so we're looking at Chopper is completely shielded up. Now, he just played this droid arm, which, if you don't know what it is, Minion's going to tell you, but it's gross.
So salvaged arm lets you resolve... Before you resolve a character upgrade dice on the attached character, it increases its value by 1. So you get to choose which of your dice you want to pump up, and that's extremely valuable, particularly since Chopper gets to play it for free with his power action.
But you can also wombo combo that with C-3PO, so you can get a +2 to your die. Is that correct?
Right. So, yeah. You can turn a Chopper 2-side into a 4-side with C-3PO helping.
Yeah.
Which is a big chunk of damage.
Chopper also has discard, which, 3 discard for nothing. That's just, standard Destiny.
Or disrupt. And that's one of the things that makes the Chopper droid deck so powerful, is that you're flexible on what side you need the most to just crank it up +2, possibly +3 if you get a second salvaged arm on Chopper.
Right.
It's kind of disgusting.
So we've got some damage showing here on IG-88. There's a 2 on his character die, a 2 on his upgrade die, and a money. General Grievous has Bupkiss and a fist, so he's not going to be doing much. We've seen a significant uptick in damage from the previous round. C-3PO eats it. So explain, what does that mean to the droid player since they lost one of their critical components to shift and flex all of their dice to do special things?
So now, obviously, C-3PO won't be pumping any dice by 1, and R2 can only focus dice to the top numbered side, which on most dice is the 1 damage side. However, he didn't take any damage off the table directly by killing C-3PO, and C-3PO was only at 1 die. So the Chopper droid's player loses the focus on the pumping ability, but he is in a good spot in that his 2 remaining characters are healthy.
Ooh.
There's a Chewie's blaster. We know what that can do.
But for those of you who don't know, why don't we tell them?
So we've seen it every game so far, but when you play it, you can take a damage on that character to roll the dice into your pool.
Right. And then once you've resolved it, it goes back into the upgrade, and then you activate Chopper and you get the die out again.
Right. And it's also kind of convenient. It has a 2 for free side, 2 ranged for free as its not top value, which means that R2, even with C-3PO dead, can focus that dice into something that's pretty useful.
And then you can use the salvage arm upgrade. You tap it, and it increases the value by 1. So you can still get a lot of value out of this die, even without C-3PO giving you the flexibility to ship it shape it to anything you want.
Right.
So now let's talk a little bit about the bounty hunter and not droid. So they've got some damage on deck. There's a disrupt showing. The bigger problem is IG-88 is sitting on 8 damage out of 12 life. So he's only got 4 left. And as soon as R2 activates, we can see that turn into, 2 damage with salvage arm, that's 3. So he has 1 life left.
So this is a seize the day.
Uh-oh. Oh, this is bad. So that means if you have the battlefield, you get to take 2 actions, which could mean a dead...
So his first action is activate R2. He flips the Chewie's blaster to the 2, resolves it, and he is still showing lethal with his R2 dice on IG-88, and looks like
Alright, so
IG-88 is down.
Alright, so General Grievous has to do this himself, like as we've seen in the movies many, many times, because...
You just can't rely on the droids.
You know what? These are not the droids you're looking for. Very disappointing. I mean, IG-88 went to lunch. What are you going to do about it?
But...
Oh,
there's
here we
a
go
pulse
again.
cannon. Game is back on.
Alright, so let's talk about this card, because some people might be just joining us for the first time this evening.
So the pulse cannon lets you use a power action to resolve it. You get to re-roll it, resolve it again, re-roll it again, and then resolve it a third time.
Right.
So it has the potential with 2 3-for-1 sides to do 9 damage, and he is showing one of those 3s right now.
So there's $2 on the table,
But
so we're probably... Oh, so he's pitching... Okay, so he's pitching cards to
Sinister
remove,
Piece to remove the Chewie's blaster.
How does that card work?
So Sinister Piece is to remove a die showing 2 or more, and by discarding an extra card from your hand.
Yeah. So here's where we
I
can
butchered
see...
the wording, but that's what the gist of it is.
So General Grievous has 2 focuses on table, so we could see some really interesting stuff where he power action... Well, he clearly resolves the damage. And you power action it out, and if you can't resolve it, you could still use Grievous to flip into something you could resolve if just something terrible happens.
So this is, based on previous games, this pulse cannon is a guaranteed lethal on on R2 right now, but he's focusing it instead. So
Well, I think that's smart because he's going to have the capacity to start putting some insane amounts of damage out. Now, here's the thing. Do you go for Chopper, or do you eviscerate R2 and try and, get rid of 2 dice on R2 and then start to just chew through Chopper?
yeah, I think targeting R2 was the
Okay,
correct
there it is, yeah.
play because you had a kill potential there, whereas
so-
with 2 shields and a riot shield on Chopper, he was not going to die.
Yeah. So what we just saw was, 3-for-1, disrupt, and then another 3-for-1, I believe? Because he has no money
That's
left
what it looked
over.
like.
Yeah. So we're going into the next round. Grievous has 4 damage on him with 9 health. Chopper has, more than that. But Grievous could get some nutty rolls, while Chopper has... He lost the right shield. He is overriding... Or no, he's using the
He's
power
actioning a rocket boosters out.
Now, the thing is, you can only power action what targets, because you can't get right shield back.
You can only power action droid mods.
Yeah.
So typically in a Chopper droid's deck, it would be the rocket boosters, the salvaged arm, and the grappling arm.
So we know what Grievous can do, because we literally just saw it happen. What does Chopper need to do to claim those extra 5 damage and win this round?
Well, I think that since we're potentially in the last round, there was an opportunity to action the rocket boosters, but he's just going to seize the day and try to win that way. Which
What did
he does.
roll? Okay.
He rolled the 4-for-1 on the Chewie's blaster, and then he increased it by 1 with the salvaged arm to do the 5 remaining damage.
And that really is the scary power of droids, is they can not only just punch out so much damage out of nowhere, but they're incredibly consistent. And that's something any kind of player wants to have control over in any kind of game, especially a dice game where you're relying on card draw, you're relying on dice to roll different things, and being able to utilize droids where they can really mitigate a lot of that randomness with their abilities makes the droids super popular among competitive players.
Exactly. But that looks like that's it for this round, and IG player is counting his bounties to make sure that they were indeed in his deck. lamenting the fact that he did not get them in early rounds to really make use of the IG-88 power action.
Yeah, that was a really interesting match just because not only was it a little bit different, but like we said previously in all the other games, both decks are very similar in the fact that like the droids want to get a lot of their dice out on the table quickly, while the bounty hunters want to get a lot of bounties on the table quickly so they can activate and proc their abilities to deal damage and utilize the cards in their hand to do special effects. So we're going to wrap this up. That is the end of round 3. If you're watching and you're enjoying this commentary, please follow the Chance Cube. Check them out on social media. They're probably everywhere, so you should definitely check them out. But my name is Sugi. This is Minion. We're going to probably... You want to get some dinner? Maybe some Ewok stew? We'll just go play a casual game of Palpatine versus Ewoks. See what happens.
Sounds good.
All right. We'll see everyone soon. Thank you for watching. We'll be right back after this round.
This coverage of Star Wars Destiny is supported in part by our patrons. The Chance Cube wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the support of our patrons. We appreciate each and every one of you who generously support us in our mission to explore Star Wars Destiny and educate players along the way. We couldn't do it without you. If you would like to join our friends in high places, then head over to patreon.com/The Chance Cube. $1 a month goes a long way to maintaining and growing content like this and much more. And special thanks to Jim Goss, Derek Bertram, and Nathan Henderson for their generous support as top-tier patrons.